Hey, English 11 people, here is the deal. So I met with several of you on Friday to talk about fences and to talk a little bit about the video essay. Something tells me that some of you are going to need a little bit more instruction. So here's what I would like to do. I want to take you through what I'm expecting you to do, and I want to talk shortly about how to do it and what I'm kind of expecting by the time we meet again on the 30th. So in English 11, you're going to find fences. First of all, there are 4 parts here. Last week, you were asked to watch about 30, 40 minutes a day and respond to that. I'll still be taking that, but you will no longer have the opportunity to meet to talk about it because we already did that. So what you're going to be looking at once you've watched the movie and done those is defenses, make a video essay. What you're going to find in here is a couple things that are going to help you out. Number one is the video essay assignment, which we'll be talking about in a moment. The movie is right here as well, which hopefully you've watched by now. I have some gifts, which I'll talk about as well. And then how to make a video essay, which I'm not going to take you through how to make a video essay. What I'm going to do is talk about the assignment. But I think if you have never made a video essay, don't just try to go it alone and don't try to assume you know what I'm looking for. That video will tell you exactly what I'm looking for. It will save you a lot of time and will simplify this whole process. What I'd like to do is get into Fences, the video essay. So here's what this is. So this movie is pretty loaded, all right? It's a pretty juicy movie with a lot of ripe things to talk about. You've got race, you've got, masculinity, you've got marriage, you've got family, you've got, there's so many things to talk about, which is why we had such a good conversation on Friday with the people who came to the Zoom call. Those of you who watched it without coming to the Zoom call, I'm sure you have lots to say as well. So here's what I want you to do, all right? This right here is basically like your task list, and it looks like a lot, which is why I'm explaining it right now. You're going to choose one of the prompts below, and there are lots of them, and just find the one that you feel like you have the most to say about. These focus areas I will talk about in a moment here to make sure that makes sense. Basically, I just want you to have 3 different ways to talk about it so that you have enough to show me that you know what you're talking about, because I think some of you, sometimes you give me an answer and you're like, well, I don't have anything else to say. So I'm going to give you more to say, basically. I suggest that you write out a script. If you feel like you could wing it, go ahead and wing it. But I think most people would probably be more comfortable writing out a script and then reading it and recording it. Record your voiceover using WeVideo, which I take you through in that other video. It's not that long. Here's a link to it again. I put links all over the document because I am really strongly suggesting you do that. If we were in class, I would make it happen to you, but can't make you click this link. But I can tell you that it will probably help you. Okay, so the other thing you'll be doing is you'll be taking screenshots of the thing that you're talking about. And I do go through that again in that video. So what I'm going to move on to here is the prompts. So you're going to pick one of these, okay? Can you talk about more than one? Yeah, I think some of them kind of blend into each other. But, what does this movie have to say about family and relationships and friendships? Poverty. How does poverty complicate the Maxon life? What does the film have to say about race in the 1950s? Remember, this movie takes place in approximately 1957, ends about 1965, so it's after the Korean War, which is where Gabe was most likely injured, and it's also just about to be Vietnam, which is where Corey is most likely going when he enlists in the Marines. So what does this have to say about, race in the 1950s? You've got an almost all Black cast. You get to dramatize and see what it was like, for that family and for a talented, hardworking guy, and some lots of other talented, hardworking people who are Black and don't have the same opportunities as everybody. You don't get to see what everybody else had, but you do get to see what the Maxons go through and the struggles that they have, particularly Troy, who was like a world-class baseball player, but because of his race, never got to prove that. Anyways, speaking of Troy, was Troy a good man? I'd imagine most of you will have a lot to say about that because you can't just say yes, you can't just say no. I mean, you can, but I don't think it would be a good answer to just say yes or no. How do people today face similar issues? Like, how could this movie be made today and not be very different from 70 years ago? Fathers and sons. Was Troy a better father than his fathers? Will his sons be better fathers than he was? What would Rose say is the American dream to her, as a woman, as a Black woman in the 1950s? What's her American dream? What can she count on? What can she expect? Is it the same as it is for everybody? Same thing with Troy. Let's see. How will it be different for Troy's sons than it was for him? Tell me about Rose as a wife and a mother. What kind of sacrifices does she make? And more importantly, why does she make them? Explain the title of the film. You've got them building a fence in the backyard Fences are there to keep people out, keep people in. What can you find? What can you say about that? Some symbols in the movie. If you're looking for threes or fours, this one right here might be for you. Not that you can't get those in the other ones, but symbolism might not come naturally to some people here. So things like the trumpet, Jinn, Mr. Death, the fence. What are the symbols in this film, in this play originally? And then let's see. The last one here is talking about race, very similar to the other one about what has changed, what has stayed the same as far as race goes. Okay, so pick one of those prompts. And then what you're going to do is you're going to choose 3 perspectives to include in your video essay. So if you choose to talk about Troy and say maybe Corey or Troy and Rose, that's 2. I don't want you to pick 3 from any category here. So you can still talk about more. You can talk about all these characters, but you can't just talk about characters and then not talk about the time period, the neighborhood, the backyard, or baseball, or Mr. Death. So if you talked about Troy and Rose, I would also want you to at least talk about their house, their backyard. If you talked about Troy and Rose, I would want you to talk about baseball in some way or another. In other words, I want you to talk about 3. People who do this really well will probably naturally talk about all of these, but I also don't want these to be like 10, 20-minute videos. We're trying to keep them short. You can work with somebody else. If you want to work with somebody in Mr. Smith, Mr. Osowski, Ms. Rutassel's classes, that's fine with me. Up to 3 people, figure out how that's going to make it work, because it is not okay to say, well, I wanted to work with so-and-so, but we were on pandemic break, and so we couldn't do that. That's not okay. If you can't work with them and you can't do it virtually, then you don't do that for this assignment. Everybody needs to contribute. I would like it if everybody read a little bit, but you split that up however you want. If somebody does all the editing and somebody does the recording, I'm okay with that. I just want it to be good. 2 to 4 minutes. I think you're going to have a hard time keeping it within that time period, but who knows? And then let's see. So video essay, as I've said in one earlier, it should be your voice narrating pictures. So when you're talking about Troy, I want pictures of Troy. If you're talking about Gabe, I want pictures of Gabe. If you're talking about Corey, baseball, I want pictures of that. I think the best way to do that is to get pictures and GIFs and maybe even chop up parts of the movie. So I have a question after this. Treat this as your attendance basically for the week. So I look forward to seeing you again. If you have questions, you should reach out to me and let me know, because I am around to do Zooms with people today or tomorrow, but I will not be available during the Thanksgiving break. I will be taking a break, and I suggest you do the same unless you have work to do that you have not done. All right, take care. We'll see you soon.